You're listening to Let's Talk Creation, the science podcast that's just for you.
Now, this one's an interesting one. And it brings us to a very intriguing, puzzling in many ways passage of the Bible, which is Genesis chapter 6, where we read about events that were happening before the flood. And we have this strange reference to the Nephilim.
Yeah.
So, Todd, I don't know. This is probably going to be controversial because there are lots of different opinions about this. But in your viewpoint, what are the Nephilim?
What are the Nephilim? So, so the way it's described, you have the sons of God saw the daughters of man, that they were beautiful, and they took wives and had children. And there were Nephilim in the earth in that day when the sons of God came into the daughters of man. Okay, so what could that be, right? So first of all, let me dispense with what it is not. It's not aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm saying it's not aliens. So all you ancient astronaut people, sorry, but no. It's not. Yeah. We're not going there. And frankly, I'm not sure that passage really supports the common idea that they're giants either. There are other places in the Old Testament where it talks about other sorts of people that the Nephilim, that word is applied to them as well, that are giants, but I don't see giants here, and I don't know that we should just take Nephilim to refer to somebody of an unusually large height and stature and build. So what are they? I have a video on this on my Ask a Creationist, which is on the Core Academy YouTube channel. So if you want a longer explanation, you can check that out. But basically, it comes down to this: there are some people who believe that the sons of God represent the godly line of Seth, and that the daughters of man represent the wicked family of Cain. So basically, you have the Cain and Abel story, and then Adam and Eve have Seth, and Seth is the one through whom Noah is born. That line, Noah is born there. And so people think that, Cain's family is bad because Cain was a murderer, and that Seth's family was good. And so what that describes then, the sons of God, the family of Seth, marrying into the family of Cain and giving up their righteous separation and, basically giving into worldly wicked desires and so forth. And that then is what precipitates the flood, right? Precipitates, that's a good word. That's what brings about the flood, right? And so that's one explanation. And then the other explanation is a little weirder, and I understand that people might have a difficult time on following this, but the basic notion is that the sons of God are angelic beings. When we see the phrase sons of God used in the Old Testament, it's used a couple of times, and it usually, you can tell from the passage that it's referring to angels. So there are folks who say, well, these clearly are angels who have abandoned whatever angelic duties they had, took on human form, and had wives and had children. And so I like to think of this as the demon-human hybrid interpretation. That these are fallen angels who've gone ahead and got married and had kids. Now, I grew up thinking that the idea of angel-demon-human hybrids was silly and unbelievable. And I was a Seth Cain family line mingling guy. I believe that was probably the more likely answer. Now, as an adult, after I, finished my schooling and got out and had more time to work on these sorts of issues, I began studying more carefully and realized that the interpretations were essentially equally old. You could go back to the church fathers 2,000 years ago, 1,800 years ago, back basically to the beginning of the church. And you could find church fathers who accepted the demon-human hybrid explanation, and you could find some that accepted the explanation that this was the line of Seth and the line of Cain. So it seemed to me at that point, I just expected, if you go back far enough in time, you would find people who would know what the right answer was, and they would all agree, and then there you go. That would be the right answer, and that's not at all what happened. And so I sort of became agnostic, sort of, on the subject, and I decided, well, I guess I don't know. If the church fathers don't know, then I guess I don't know. Now, in defense of the hybrid idea, I mean, we do have record in the Old Testament of angels appearing in human form, right? So we have, I think, probably one of the more famous examples would be the appearance of three men at Abraham's camp just before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they are described as men. Two of them then go down to Sodom to bring Lot out, and they are also recognized as human men. And there are other times in the Old Testament where you see angels appearing, but they're recognized as angels, but they take on human form to make their appearance. And so I don't think it's that far-fetched to think that they could be, functional in all human ways, right? And could enter into marriages in that way. So, I don't think it's entirely outrageous to imagine that angels could decide, I don't want to do this angel thing anymore. I'm going to go marry this cute girl and have kids and have a family and so forth. I do want to say one thing before we end this little Q&A, that particular question. The Nephilim, the actual word, we don't really know what it is. Some people want to say that it's this biological thing and it's all very important, and it's not used often enough in the Old Testament or in any other Hebrew literature that we have that we can really say for sure this is exactly what that word means. Basically, for these ancient languages, the more often a word is used, the more you can figure out from the context what it's talking about. But this word is used very, very infrequently, and so it's not clear. It's not clear what it is. It could be another word for mighty men of old, which is how they are described in Genesis 6. So, yeah. So what are the Nephilim? Could be Seth and Cain families getting together. Could be angels and human women getting together. We don't know. But it isn't aliens. It's definitely not aliens. All right.
And it's interesting that you just kind of brought out that it might not mean it might not be a biological designation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It could just mean some mighty men or something like that, because that would sort of make sense given the fact that we have Nephilim apparently before and after the flood.
Right.
And since Noah and his family, the 8 on the ark, are the only ones that survived the flood, presumably the Nephilim before the flood went extinct.
Yeah,
they're gone. And so whatever the Nephilim are, after the flood, they are not genetically continuous with the Nephilim before the flood. There's something else going on.
Right. That is exactly how I would understand it. Yep. That something else has happened after the flood, and it might not be angel human or Seth Cain, that produced those post-flood Nephilim. It could be something else, and that word is just used to describe whatever they are. So.
You've just heard a clip from the Let's Talk Creation podcast. If you want to check out full episodes, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you want to check out other streaming options, visit us at coresci.org/podcast. That's coresci.org/podcast.